I punched a cardboard cutout of myself because I got mad that, I guess I was just mad that that cardboard cutout would make you be there, but I couldn't,
Yeah. It makes sense.
I punched it, and that was the beginning of a bad day. Cops came, but there was nothing to get me for. And, then I went to Seattle and back, and long story short, ended up getting a slow speed chase with cops in the neighborhood. And then I ran into a couple cop cars. It's inexplicable.
You're listening to the Fit for Radio podcast. I'm your host, Drew Tiedemann, and I'm super excited for our guest today. But first, let me tell you, we are at the Stafford Hills Club like we are all the time, where I already hit the gym this morning, hit a little sauna. You can get all ready here, and even you can rent a suite right next to me if that's your prerogative. But watching them getting everything ready for that sunshine season, the pool ready to go, saltwater grill. Get on board, get the family going, and come down to Stafford Hills. Find out all the details about the amenities at staffordhills.com. Now, my guest today is a guy who his name is quite famous where I grew up here and across the country as of now. His name is Dave Dahl, also known as the founder of Dave's Killer Bread. How are you, bud?
I'm really good. Thanks.
It's so nice to have you in here. Now, I feel like just about everybody that I know from around here has some sort of an idea about you. Now, I don't think that many of them necessarily know your story. They know some sort of a Paul Bunyan version of it, a lot of wives' tales, game of telephone, where people don't necessarily know the real story of Dave Dahl.
I don't even know that. I don't remember a lot of it. So,
well, we'll try and find part of it. Now, you grew up in a family that was a little bit different than your run-of-the-mill family. They were members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Is that correct?
Yeah, very much. Very upbeat.
Now, I did a little research because I was completely clueless as to what that is, and it's a very strict upbringing. It not just with what you're exposed to, but also your diet, exercise, all those things are all intertwined.
Well, a strict Seventh-day Adventist, at least back, we're talking 50 years ago or so, that was, they do have a very strict sort of adherence to diet standards, mainly, no meat, but that tends to be, kind of fluid. And I mean, there's just really strict people. They're vegetarians. My mom ended up being a vegetarian, but that's that side of it. And then there's just all kinds of temperance. They like to call it temperance, where you just don't do a lot of things.
Okay.
And instead of, worldly, my mom would call it worldly things.
Oh, that's a way to keep it in check.
I had to find out the hard way what worldly was.
Yeah, and you find your way towards worldly things.
I certainly did.
At some point. Now, early on in your upbringing, and some of this upbringing also kind of leads to where you succeed later on because of some of those dietary things. Now, at what point did you realize that you might be a little different than the rest of the family?
Weird. I always was more concerned about presentation, and fitting in. As a youngster, I wanted to fit in, but the more I tried, the less I did, because I didn't fit in with the family. I didn't fit in with the family religion, and we went to Seventh-day Adventist schools, so
it was church and school, and everything was kind of tied into this.
Yeah, I was very, like I said, upbeat, but also that, I didn't even fit in with those guys. So I was pretty much a loner.
So, and you've been pretty open, over time about struggling, with depression and low self-esteem. Is that something that you were experiencing all the way back then, or did that come later?
I think I was born that way. I mean, I can hardly remember having good feelings as a youngster. There must have been like moments. I think I have like glimpses of moments, but in general, I thought that I was just born to be less than or something,
Mm-hmm.
Like I was, that's the way I came up.
Now, how long do you kind of hold serve with the family before you start to experiment with quote unquote worldly things and going outside of the box of what the church would prefer?
It was weird. I think I started, it must have been about 12, give or take, when I said to myself, I'm not really going for this. It doesn't make sense to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been taught all these things going to school. I was a good student, pretty good, and I told the line up to that point because I really believed what I was being told. So I did. I learned the Bible almost like the back of my hand in a way. But then I started reading the Bible and asking God to show me signs or show me, somehow let me know that He's there. That there's this God thing. And the more I thought about it, the more I went through it, and I tested the idea and theory out. It just became more and more depressed about it and life in general. But I eventually became an atheist, and I'm not an atheist now. I don't believe atheism is its own religion to me. It's kind of like,
But at the time, you would kind of, to get away from the intensity of it, you would kind of said, I'm nothing.
Yeah, nihilistic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Nihilistic, I don't know how they say it.
And that's probably a form of self-preservation there as well, because to atheists, to the layman, it's just kind of like, well, I'm no longer practicing something.
Yeah, and I believe that at least for me, it meant that there's no God. There's nothing. And so since there's nothing, that just gives you, it's like what matters.
The floodgate opens.
The floodgate opens. You fall off a cliff. I did. And you fall into those worldly things.
Now, so at one point you do attempt to do the standard nuclear family, and you have a wife and a kid.
I never thought of it that way. Like I said, growing up like I did, I was pretty low. I had low self-esteem all the way up. I was doing, acid, cocaine, a lot of weed, smoking weed, and it never agreed with me. But I drank a lot when I was a teenager.
And so you're what, 15, 16?
In those years. And then I got married. I actually tried the Marine Corps for a minute, thought that would put me into shape, but I wasn't ready for that.
Wait, for a minute. So did they boot you out, or?
Yeah, basically. It's such a long story. Dude.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Another chapter of the book. So it's nothing to brag about. I can tell you that.
It just wasn't right for you.
It wasn't right. I wasn't ready. I was really worldly, and I wasn't worldly enough for that yet. And I love that. I mean, I keep using that word because it fits. But then, right after that, basically, within months, I was getting married. And it was just.
Is this something you jumped into?
Yeah, I always did that. My impulsivity has been
a little Band-Aid there.
It worked for me, impulsivity at times, but mostly against me.
So during this time, where you've jumped into the family life, are you still partying pretty hard here?
Yeah. I went through reprieves, getting with my wife at the time. We did some drinking, but it wasn't that much. We smoked a little bit of weed or whatever, but it wasn't like, as a year or two into the marriage, I started getting more into the drinking, things, partying.
And at what point do you decide that the family life isn't for you and that you're gonna move in a different direction?
Well, I always thought I was going to play in a rock band, either guitar or vocals. And so my wife actually was very supportive of that, but I had no character built at that time. I was kind of like whatever, girl says, alcohol, drugs, that,
Impulsive,
and just, ruined my relationship with my wife. And then she finally said, screw this. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
Good for her.
And so when she decides to leave, you kind of fall into a deeper depression, or where do you transition from here? Because you're about to make a decision soon here that will kind of like a rocket ship send you in a direction.
Yeah, it's good. That's timing. I was at the bottom. It was one of my bottoms, right? One of the early bottoms, I guess. where I just said I was suicidal, but I guess I used to think I don't have the courage or the balls to take myself out,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I should do. If I was a real man, I'd just get it over with because I'm not doing anybody any favors. So, got away from my wife and I and eventually get divorced. About the same time, I put a needle full of methamphetamine in my arm, and that was I call it my first transformation.
So I'm always kind of, enamored with that, because I've partied plenty and I've done all kinds of stuff. And I'm sure that it's laughable compared to what you could offer up here. But meth is something that I was always deathly afraid of because I know where it takes you and what it leads to and the paths that happen there. How does that end up in your arm? Because I feel like the first time it's more of a decision than any other time because once you've tasted it, now it's trouble.
Yeah, I really didn't see. I didn't see any reason to live, so I didn't have anything to lose.
So you were riding the ride.
Yeah. Well, I was seeing this girl that lived next door, and we were partying and just drinking, and we did some coke, and I didn't know anything about drugs in those days, and I just like, well, I'll buy a quarter gram of coke and get it on. That's not enough to do anything. You know what I mean? So she was like, well, we could spend this kind of money on crank, called it.
Mm-hmm.
And we could stay high for the whole evening and whatever the next day and stuff and have a great time. And that's what happened. But I went over to her house. The drug dealer comes over. He's a crazy looking Charles Manson looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes, dude, do you want to ride in the car? Or do you want to take the rocket? And I was like, what the hell? Who cares? I'll try the rocket. Yeah. The rocket was the rocket.
Sent you straight to the moon.
It did. I've never seen anything. I mean, and it wasn't like it made me crazy. Well, it did. Yes.
But in your mind, though, to piggyback on that, from what I've heard from people, is that when they take the drug, it makes them feel not just like invincible, but like hyper aware and super smart, almost like the limitless drug, where you take it and everything's gone clear. And now the problem with the drug also is while it might be clear to you, the guy sitting across from you is like, that guy just went off the deep end.
Yeah.
And they can see it.
Well, they see the energy change. You get a high, obviously you're gagged, but gagged, I've always thought of as more like when things get out of control. Mm-hmm. And at first you're really just like super aware, super high or super excited. Like everything's better than it's ever you ever imagined it could be. I looked around and I saw this painting on the wall, and I was like, I gotta have that. How much for that? And that's how my life became. So yeah, it just completely changed my personality. It took all the negative out. It's all positive and dangerous.
And so at first, that's a crutch that you're going to lean into because you are depressed, you are having a lack of self-worth, and when you take the drug, that fades away.
Yeah, everything that I'd worked for. I mean, I used to try to stay in shape and stuff like that. So I wasn't in terrible shape. I was in pretty good shape, and I was young. I mean, I had a lot of potential that I didn't even see, but I always was trying to do something. And all of a sudden, this mess made me think of myself. Well, all that stuff matters, and now I'm somebody.
Mm-hmm. So where does that head? Because at some point during that, it becomes something that's no longer helping you. It's kind of become something that you're chasing, and you're having trouble keeping work. What happens there?
Well, as long as I was high, it seemed like I was fine. Unless I got something that wasn't so good, right? But usually it was pretty good in those days, and I was able to accomplish a lot of stuff on it. But the problem was I couldn't afford it. I was working, but this was my first opportunity to lose a job, and I managed to do that through drugs. But at first I was working, and I was called moonlighting out jockey boxing stereos with the guy who turned me on to the dope.
Oh,
Manson guy.
Okay. Yeah. So he's also out stealing.
Yeah, well, that's basically what he does. He just
troublemaker.
He just all the way. They used to call him gangsters in those days. But he was bad news. And I was just happy to be bad news too.
Yeah. At the time you're leaning in, you're embracing
Yeah.
that role. Do you have any contact during this period with your daughter at all, or does that completely sever?
Well, at that point, I mean, we're talking the beginnings. I didn't have any daughters then.
Oh, so this
Actually,
is
wait a minute.
before.
I did have one daughter that was born right about that time, just before that.
Yeah.
And yes, I did. I tried to maintain contact with her, but it was hard because I was doing drugs.
You were living fast.
Yeah, I wasn't doing the right thing, so it didn't
So
work out.
so you start to get into a little bit of trouble, it looks like, and are you getting kind of like slap on the wrists here from police at
I
first?
get in a lot of trouble at that point. It was like maybe a year down the road.
So things are going all right for a bit.
Not really. I mean, I was doing stuff, but I wasn't getting in trouble yet.
Okay.
I was creating trouble, but
It just wasn't ending up on paper.
Yeah, it didn't add up to me being in jail much yet.
Okay.
I went to jail for burglary. I've been in jail before that, but the first time it matters, I went to jail for burglary, and then I got 7 years out of that. But back then, 7 years in my case was 9 months.
So they let you out on good behavior? Or?
Yeah, well, it's just
Or this?
because I hadn't been in trouble before.
Okay.
So yeah, I had a low, they call it a matrix score, and they set me at the bottom of my matrix, and I got out in 9 months.
Okay. And so when you get busted for that, what were you doing that got you caught? Were you in a house? Were you?
Yeah. We did this burglary where there's a different guy now. We're going there. This guy was really good he was really good at finding burglaries, and he did a lot of them. Okay. But this one, we broke into this house, and it turns out that two old ladies came home while we were there.
Oh.
We ran out the door. That could have been, with later laws, that would have been really bad. But we ended up getting caught. I broke the back door down to get out. and then we got picked up down the road.
And they caught you.
Yeah.
So at this point, you've done some time. You did those months in jail. When you got out, where do you go from there? After that stint,
just more. I just was like.
Did you want to get back to drugs? Were you doing drugs in jail? Were you?
No, I wasn't really doing much in jail. But I craved getting high again. It was the only way I was going to be. It's like I had already decided this was me. This is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't. I wasn't in prison long enough. At 9 months, it wasn't enough to really sink in like it did later. And I was able to just immediately I got out and started getting high again. Started selling dope. Just petty, pretty small time.
Now, I saw in your notes you said you tried to sell dope, but it didn't go so well. Were you just not made for that, or you just do the drugs instead?
All that in the early days of selling dope, I wasn't made for it. I had to nod. I was good at the numbers, all that kind of stuff. I was good at the business numbers, but I just wasn't good at playing at knowing how to be a dope dealer. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of fun. But I never could, like I said, you'd get people high, or you'd front the dope out and you never see the money. Or you do it all yourself. And it was just, those early days of trying to sell dope, I didn't know what I was doing. Later on, I got a lot better.
Well, and really, you find that the best drug dealers are the ones who aren't deep in the product all the time. It's like
right.
They know not to do it. They sell it. They don't necessarily do it on that level. And when you're with all the people who are, looking for another fix or a little taste, it's
right.
It's hard
you're
to
at a low level, and you stay at that low level unless you figure something out, like those guys do. And one of the things is if you get connected where you start getting bigger bags, it's harder to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
You can get busted with a bigger bag, but with a bigger bag, you don't run out as easy. You have more you can do and waste and still make your money back, so you can't be caught.
So you're kind of doing this stuff for a while. Where do you go from here? Because you do end up back in prison. How does that happen? Or are you out for a bit, or is it just this lifestyle is meant for being behind bars?
For me, it's what it turned out. I didn't want to keep going back to prison. I always thought I'd be smarter the next time. But of course, the second time I was just desperate. I was running from Oregon. I was on parole, and I violated parole, and I took off across the country. Ended up in Wyoming, first in Wyoming. I got busted for petty stuff in Wyoming. Did 90 days on my way to Massachusetts. By the time I was getting to Massachusetts, it was wintertime, and now I don't even have. Anyway, I barely had a little coat. It was blizzarding.
Did you hitchhike? How'd you get there?
Yeah, well, I had my buddy talked me into coming out there. He was working in construction, and he was doing well. He said he could get me to work, and that's why I was coming out there. And so he sent me enough money to get a bus ticket, but I decided to keep the money in my pocket and hitchhike, and it did not work out very well. But I did get there, but I ran into some really bad weather on the way, and it was tough.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So I bet halfway there, you're wishing you had that bus ticket.
Yeah. And that's the story of my life, though. I didn't think things through, and that's one of the things that I learned in treatment and all these things. It's learn how to play the tape through. So you just don't make the same dumb mistakes over and over.
Yeah, and living in the moment like that, it's tough because it's all right in front of you, and then all of a sudden the drugs are burned up, you got no bus ticket, and it's 15 degrees out.
That's right. Exactly right.
It makes it a tougher ride.
And that's where I got busted the second time, or the big second time was in Massachusetts.
So was this another burglary?
And I wound up doing robberies. I learned that robberies were a lot easier.
Okay, so it was to rob someone straight up, like in person.
Yeah, robbing stores, I robbed drug dealers, I robbed all different things. But
so would you just put a mask on and walk in with a gun, or what would you do?
I didn't even bother putting a mask on. That was pretty scary, though. I was a scary-looking dude, long hair, leather jacket, whatever.
You give them the look.
Yeah, they were scared, and that's all I had to do. I never had to hurt anybody. But, I mean, to me, it was all kind of a game, but I didn't care about life other than getting high.
Did you ever, when you would get in these depressive scenarios, did you ever think about those people, or were you so into the drugs that you didn't care what it was doing to, say the clerk or whatever?
Yeah, only later when
you're actually reflecting.
Yeah, you actually have a conscious.
Yeah,
I do remember robbing a lady in a liquor store and just. I told her I was sorry, but I got to do this,
Oh, man.
Because I felt bad. It was an older lady and stuff. I mean, these things were really...
It's got a grip on you.
Yeah. He was like, but I got to get high. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. And so where were you when this final... when you get busted in Mass?
I was in Raynham, Massachusetts. We were going to go rob a dog track. He had an inside job he had planned on this dog track, and all we had to do was get enough gas to get there. And that's how bad we woke up, and we're, oh my God, we're all, and so we stopped it. We saw this one place. Now, in those days, stuff isn't open all the time. There wasn't like all these mini marts and stuff open 24 hours.
Yeah.
And we saw Donna's Ceramics was open. And just Donna's Ceramics, like, it's open. Got to have a few bucks so I can go get this, so we can take care of this bigger thing, right? And so I went in there, and I think it was the husband was behind the counter, and he's just like, he hands me over $13.
Oh my!
Yeah, but $13 was like a little bit more than it was then. Back then, it was enough to get us to, but that's not what I was aiming for. But that's what I got. I ran out the door, but he'd already had Donna in the back calling the cops. That's the kind of smart stuff I was doing. Just totally impulsive.
Losing one of your people that you're supposed to keep an eye on as they're heading into the bag.
Right, exactly. And this guy was supposed to be driving for me. And I always told him, park here. And so I would go and I'd come back out. The first time it happened, when he didn't stay where he was supposed to stay and he took off, I had to go search for him. Well, the first time it worked out okay. The second time we had Donna's, it was a disaster, because as it turns out, we were also on a cul-de-sac.
Oh, no. It's nowhere to go.
It's Keystone Cop stuff.
It's the Fit for Radio podcast, and spring is here. And so are the deals at Motorsport Hillsboro. If you haven't been out there, it is the best spot to get everything for your off-road adventures, where gas prices, they're on the rise. But the deals just keep getting sweeter, and the prices are dropping at Motorsport Hillsboro, where you can get a gas e-bike while supplies last for up to 60% off. You're not going to find those deals anywhere else, and this is why people love Motorsport Hillsboro. And you want another one? How about $8,000 off MSRP if you're trying to get yourself into a Kawasaki Ridge side-by-side? So awesome and a lot of fun to play around in, and the amenities just go on for days. So Motorsport Hillsboro, also your KO connection, where you'll get all the love that you won't find online, and the Northwest's best financing. It's Motorsport Hillsboro. Go see them today. And of course, stay rad, save gas. And so your driver's not there, or what's...
And the driver wasn't there. He had moved again, and he got scared. He moved. It's like, it was,
Was he just being a bit of a tweaker? Is that what he's doing?
He was scared. He would get scared sitting there. He'd start,
getting a little jumpy.
Yeah. And so by the time I found him, the cops were already here, and we're in a cul-de-sac. And I'm robbing these stores with a big knife, so I just threw the knife as far as I could throw it into these bushes. Cops saw me do that. So they chased down the knife. And, we got your knife, dumbass.
Oh, no.
And then, of course, they would chase me through a mall and stuff like that. I mean, I ran for a while, and I just gave up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got a 5 to 7 sentence, and I did 4.5 years on that.
So in Massachusetts?
Yeah, and I got beat up on the way pretty good. Cops almost killed me.
Really?
In the, was it Taunton? It was the Taunton. See, I got busted in Raina, and they put me in Taunton, which is like county seat or something. Or not quite, but whatever it was. It was a bigger town. And the cops there, I stayed there a couple nights with my co-defendant, and they wouldn't feed us. And I said, you pigs got to feed us. See, that's the kind of dumb I wasn't.
You're thumbing your nose at him.
I was. And I mean, I'm mad. And I was,
hungry.
I was fuck it, no food, no drugs. So, I'm being, I got bravado going on. That's it. And I said, you got to feed us. You pigs got to feed us. That was just the lamest. And they pulled me out of the cell. 4 of them started beating me up with these sticks. And I'm just going like this, trying to keep from getting hit in the face and stuff. But finally, I mean, I wasn't fighting back. I was just, covering.
Just kind of blocking.
Right. And the dude, this great big steroid monster, gets a hold of me, picks me up from behind by my neck, starts squeezing the shit out of it to the point where I couldn't breathe. And I guess I automatically was fighting. I've never heard anybody else do this, but I'm choked out, and blood started pouring out of my throat like a geyser.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it went out like 3 or 4 spurts. And there's blood all over the floor in front of me. And they even freaked out.
I bet.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't hear this story. I'm the only one I've ever seen, but it happened to me.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to die. I was sick for a month, but it was one.
They probably like hemorrhaged something in your throat.
Yeah, well, listen to my voice right now.
Yeah, you can blame that giant steroid mongrel.
That's part of it.
For all of that. So you go through that. They beat you up. Then you got to go to prison. For you, what was prison like? Like, what was, and it probably got, and tell me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, probably got easier with time. Because for me, at first, I'd be freaking out. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'd be like sitting there doing push-ups on the ground all day, trying to like get strong.
Well, we did work out. It was tough because there's no drugs for me. I mean, I could have hooked up with drugs in there, but I was just trying to survive day to day, and noisy. And Massachusetts was the noisiest, there's county jails. I was there for like 7 months in the county, and it was a crazy jail where there was these, we called them cockroaches, but they looked like cockroaches, but they were huge, and they made noise when they walked, like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
And you'd grab them, and you could have lighters in your room, matches, and all this stuff. So when we smoked rollies, so we'd but we always having a fire, so we had all this, and whenever we had paper, we burn it and throw it out on the tier, and the cops come by with their extinguishers. So that's just the way it was there.
Just part of life.
Yeah,
We set the fire, you put it out. Repeat.
exactly. They knew it was going to happen. They enjoyed it, kept them busy. But there was these bugs, and I would have to light them on fire and listen to them scream. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a tough place to be. Well, you start to you kind of like hit a rock bottom when you're doing this time in jail, right?
I always was hitting rock bottoms, but there was a particular one you might be talking about, my fourth time down.
Yeah.
And that was in Oregon. And I was sentenced to 118 months for delivery, controlled substance, and assault too. It was a deal I got instead of going federal.
So was that a sting? How did they get you?
No, another high speed. This was a high speed chase.
Okay.
And just
wrong place, wrong time.
Wrong time, driving the wrong car. Just the stories are long.
Yeah. So basically you got hemmed up on that.
Yeah, it was a crash, and crash and burn, and started out bad, and got better for a little bit because you get used to it, and then you hit back down. I had been busted in 5 counties, or 5 separate cases in 3 counties that year, 1997, and all felony cases, some violence, and a lot of drugs, guns. And the feds wanted to put me away for 20 years, 15 federal, and 5 years consecutive for gun, or 15 for armed career criminal. So they were going to do that or take the state deal for a little under 120 months. And instead of 240 months, I would do about 120 minus good time in Oregon.
Okay. You're going to take that every time.
Yeah, didn't want to. I wanted to fight that shit. But anyway, I got, it was like, I don't know how long into that. So it was 3 years into that sentence, when I had just been depressed and ready to go, ready to take myself out. If I could just figure out a good way to do it, a way that would work, because I would fuck up a suicide. That was kind of what my thinking was. And it was part of it. And the other part, it must have been part of me that wanted to live.
Yeah, there's a little morsel of both in there.
Yeah. And so I'm at that point, and I did something unthinkable to my former self. Was I'm going to tell myself till I have a problem that I have a mental problem. I'm a miserable person, and the only way I'm high is the only way I'm good is if I'm high. So somebody can somebody help me? Because I guess I had some idea that they could maybe help me.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe medication would help me.
So this is the first time in your life where you've narked on yourself.
Yeah. And intentionally, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I've made some dumb mistakes.
But to actually wave the flag and say, this is what's going on.
It's exactly how I look at it. You're depressed to the point of suicide.
What do you got to lose?
Yeah. You wave the white flag. Exactly. And you put a kite. I put a kite in the box. They call it a kite. And make communication form, and I asked the psych services for a date, and they brought me in, and we talked about my thing. Well, you're just extremely depressed, so why don't you try this? And I tried Paxil, and it just helped me, because I was really ready to change. It actually was a tool that I was able to use.
So it was able to let you kind of harness your thoughts a little bit and kind of get in lockstep there.
That's a good way to put it. Harness your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Replace the bad ones with good ones. I was able to do that because I had this tool. But I also went to school. I had an opportunity right then to go to school for drafting, and that's my big lesson in life that I like to help others do.
Yeah, because that's something that I was actually going to bring up to you, that you kind of got into like a thing where you were helping other inmates as well and teaching them.
Well, that was the natural progression of that job. Some guys fade out. I was really into it, so I had an opportunity to be a tutor, and I also did project drafting, which was a blast.
Oh, nice.
So I would, we had a construction tech part there too, and wood shop and all that, and they'd be building things, and I would draw the plans to make those things, and people would work with me like, well, I like this, but I want it to be like this, and I had the ability to create new things.
And that mixed with the medication obviously is helping, but it's giving you a sense of purpose. And it's and showing that, I can contribute. I'm not just, when you're in your own head about things, it's like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not. And it was
just yeah. I just being able to say, well, I'm no better than anybody, but I'm no worse than anybody either.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal for me, and to me, that's what humility is.
Yeah,
it's kind of like just being who you are. Mm-hmm. And I was all of a sudden I was okay. I was more and more every day. I was a little bit more okay with myself.
Well, and you think about how many people are capable of great things, but they're stuck in their thoughts.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I always call it on here the failure to launch. It's the idea. And I talk about it with physical fitness all the time. But it's the same thing with your mentals. And when it comes to like a job that you're like, oh, I couldn't do that. And so you just never launch, and if you never launch, you never find out if you can spread your wings or not.
Exactly. Well, I never thought I could. There was like that glimpse, or once in a while you would think you had something in you that was a spark of something, but it never proved out.
Yeah.
And then here I was, 38 years old, and I don't know which came first, chicken or the egg kind of thing, with the drafting, the meds, the thinking, all those, everything combined. I all of a sudden started seeing that I was somebody. Nobody special, just somebody, but. I ended up, I had a special opportunity. So yes, I was those are, what you talk about, the failure to launch. That's a good one. I've always failed to launch, and now I don't. I'm all about, going and failing and being okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays I'm a little bit slower to start.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough because the safe mode, a lot of us don't step away from the edge because it's safe inland, right? And it's the same thing with me or anyone else. It's like my old job and what I did for 20 plus years, that's safe and that's easy but to launch into something else, it's frightening.
Yeah, you don't know if you're safe, if you're protected.
Yeah,
you got a net to fall in. Probably not.
Free fall, baby. So at this point, you're starting to like hone in. You got your meds and your mind's kind of doing the right thing. You got positive stuff happening. Are you even, because we know where this ends up going, do you ever even think about bread during this time?
No, it's funny. That's the last thing on my mind, being able to, my family, I wanted to have a good relationship with them, but I never imagined that I could get along with them.
Get all the way back.
Yeah, going to that again. That was like the last. I was always trying to get away from that, and that's what ended up making me this way. So it wasn't until I had so much kind of success with the things I was doing in drafting and playing guitar. Everything was kind of going well. Exercise. I was running all the time. I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't know when it occurred to me that the things I was doing in drafting, I could apply to baking. Anything that you can envision the process of, first of all, creating, replicating something. I knew I could replicate, right? Mm-hmm. So what am I going to do to make it better? And so I can do this with not just bread, but I was thinking baked goods. And I thought I would go from one market to the next, and one area of the country to the next, and go, well, this is selling really well here, but we don't have this in Portland. I can replicate.
And then you
that.
grab it and go.
I'll create a version of this.
Yeah.
That was my original idea. So anyway, I brought it up to my brother, and it was a big deal. My brother, though, was a very good-hearted man. Quite a bit
older brother?
Quite a bit older than me, 8 years older. And great guy. But we were estranged at that time, and he was taking a chance bringing me back, because I had come back a couple of times, and I'd always burn it. I'd always fizzle, and And
so that's the thing with family. Sometimes you get a couple extra chances.
Yeah, and he had to give me a couple extra chances. But I was a different person. I think he knew that I was a different person at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
he
turned the
really had
corner.
hope for me
Yeah.
and for his business. He thought, hey, Dave's always been pretty creative, but he's always never been able to stay focused. And
Mhm.
if he could do that, then he could help us.
So did you go back to work with him then? Is that where you went?
Yeah, when I got out, late 2004, basically early 2005, he gave me a job. He just had me filling in. There's always people. Seemed like a bunch of stuff opened up for me there. All of a sudden, people were never making it to work. All these people calling in sick. There's Dave,
Yeah.
always there, making $12 an hour. And I was like, $12 is fine with me.
Yeah.
Living in my mom's garage, fortunate, happy, grateful.
Free.
Yeah, free.
Yeah.
Better than anything I'd been doing in years.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I just had this spirit of like, hey, man, I'm going to do something. I didn't think I was going to do something like that. I just thought I'd make a good living and have fun.
Yeah. So what do? Do you start, are you just making, like at the bakery, are you making baked goods? Are you making bread? What are you?
Well, it was a bread company. It did cookies and bread at the time, mostly for Trader Joe's. So they had a big Trader Joe's contract.
Okay.
That was the bread and butter. And I was, I had some old skills from growing up, like the production skills I used to have, flipping bread out of the pans and baking bread, just kind of little things that you learn. And I walked in with that basic knowledge. I just had to, kind of hone the craft, and I was pretty good at it.
So at what point so you're making bread, but at some point you make like a special loaf of bread or what goes on to be called Dave's Killer Bread. How does that come about?
My brother and I both agreed that I should be experimenting, creating something new. I had done that in the past, but nothing real serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the belief in myself that I did now. And my brother, he started me out on fixing the cookies. The cookies needed to be updated to a healthier version. And so I worked on that. That was pretty easy because cookies are a lot easier than bread. But then my brother comes to me, he goes, because I was going to create a bunch more cookies. I was on cookie thing, I'm like some great shit here. And he goes, come on, cool it, Turbo. We make bread. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because bread's a much tougher animal than cookies. As far as, there's just a lot more things you got to think about and be aware of and build. So I had to go out. I was scared to death, actually, but I also believed in myself. So I felt like if I go out and I replicate products, I will be able to make better products. So I figured out how to make other things. What made the bread good that was out there. And then I figured out what it would make it better to me. And that was what happened. It took a lot of experimenting, but it happened in a quick, short time. People say, how long did it take to do that? And I go, like 43 years. Mm-hmm. That's how old I was. That's what it took.
Yeah, to get to the point where you could do it.
Yeah.
But once you started trying, you got it relatively quickly?
Surprisingly quickly, yeah. I didn't expect it to be such a hit. So I thought I was just making some good products for the company and we move on.
So it kind of has like a prairie fire moment, right? Like, so you guys take it to a farmer's market and you show it off and people immediately are drawn to this bread.
This is one of the things I tell people all the time. If you have something really good, you can test market it and prove it. You understand.
Yeah.
People don't want to, they want to jump to the success part. There's so much work that went into this. I worked really hard. I worked like 80 hours a week, working regular hours and then working, experimenting. And I just had some bread that some people like, some people hate it. The old timers around there are like, this bread. They say, it's going to be too expensive. Nobody's going to pay for this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever, we'll find out, right? So we took it to the market. The Portland Farmers Market at that time had this annual bread fair called Summer Loaf, where people could bring their own cool breads that they come up with, these artisan breads. And but I was able to bring mine to that. It just blew everybody out of the water. It's just an amazing.
So did they have like a voting system there, or was
No,
it
it
just
wasn't
word
like
of
that.
mouth kind of?
It wasn't really a contest. It was an exhibition.
But the buzz was about.
The buzz was clear, and the radio and TV, and it was within months. It was like that. I was getting a lot of attention from the media and stuff, not just for the bread, but people loved. They were tickled. This bread came from this guy who had been through this.
Yes.
I put my story on the back of the bag because it was Dave's bread. That was my brother's idea. Call it Dave's bread. No, come on. I don't want it to be about me.
Yeah.
But then I did. Then I came up with the idea of killer bread. So it became Dave's Killer Bread.
Which is a great name.
It is, but you can imagine the people,
initially,
the marketing people were like,
right.
"Oh, you
killer,
no, because that's negative, and a negative,
your bread kills people, Dave."
and you're an ex-con,
yeah,
so
you look like you fit the bill.
Yeah, but it became a great way for me to get on.
Oh yeah, and I remember way back when I first heard about the bread, it was your story.
Yeah.
That was kind of the fuel behind it that was kind of pushing the bread in front of people. And then the product was speaking for itself.
Yeah. And the product was, if it wasn't for the product, the story wouldn't matter much. And vice versa, I guess, they're one and the same, they're not separable.
Yeah.
So it became, but the story is, like you said, it's wildfire. I started going from one place to, when I started driving, I went to Bremerton. I remember one time, but early on, first time I went to Washington to do so, I went there to do this demo of my bread, and the media come up to me and they go, "Why didn't you tell us you were coming?" So then started realizing that I need to start telling people I'm coming.
Yeah, get like a press release going.
Yeah,
because people will come far and wide for your bread. Now, it's still a mom and pop type of an operation at this point, right? Yeah. So you guys are running this yourself, and at some point, you're going to gain eyes from beyond because it's starting to really pick up.
Yeah, it had its own wings or whatever. It just, but I had to work very hard to keep up with just the opportunity. The opportunity was there, but so I had, in the next 2 or 3 years, like Costco started saying, "Hey, we want your bread, right? What do you want to do? You want to get it in there?" And I'm like, and we're all like, "We can't do that. We can't."
It's a lot of bread.
Yeah, we can't make that much bread. And, but we figured it out. We had to make a big move. Went to Milwaukee from Northeast Portland to a small 15,000 square foot to like 55,000. And that was a hell of an ordeal. And a lot of, that was where everybody else was, very instrumental.
Yeah.
It was a big team effort. And
now you needed more hands on deck.
Absolutely. But we did all along. But this was just really had to be. Yeah. And, my brother, my nephew, and myself did not get along for the entire Dave's Killer Bread saga.
It all was, that was all contentious.
It was. I come out of prison and I'm doing this, right? And they've been sitting there they've been towing a line all these years and doing the right thing. And
now yours is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't want to, I don't think they really wanted at that time to see that my experience mattered for something, my alternate experience.
Well, now this thing becomes a beast of its own. I don't think you could stop this train if you tried. You're listening to the Fit for Radio podcast, where we record live from the Stafford Hills Club. And if you're anywhere in the vicinity, Tigard, Tualatin, Wilsonville, Lake Oswego, in the south end of Portland, it is the premier spot to get yourself into shape, relax, recover, whatever it is you're looking for, or if you just want to hang out by a pool that feels like a resort. StaffordHills.com. Check out all of the amenities, and of course, tell them that Drew sent you. We'll get you half off your initiation here at Stafford Hills Club. How is this working with business? So if you're saying that it's contentious between you, your brother, and your nephew, well, aren't you guys all in this venture together? How do you work through this, or does that blow up? What happens?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted us to be all for one for all, but for some reason we just couldn't do it. And then we all had to kind of jump on the train no matter what, because it was there, it was rolling,
Mhm.
and it was as bad as things were getting. It was kind of like I almost got to the point one time I said, "Screw it, I can't do this," and I was going to leave. But we ended up my brother managed to find us some help, like a family business shrink, if you will,
Okay.
and
He kind of kept you guys together.
well, he was. We had to do it to work, but he was. I don't know if we could have done it without him. I don't know. We're at that point,
Mm-hmm.
waving the flag a little bit.
But your brother stays on board, and you guys continue the venture together.
Yeah, my brother was always the CEO in those days, and he was always like. It was basically he gave this project of the bread to me and my nephew. My nephew was just getting out of. He had just graduated with honors in economics from Willamette University in 3 years. That guy, and he had an ego on him like you wouldn't believe. And of course, he's changed a lot since then, grown up. But he was a real bastard, and he was my partner. He was like my partner in this thing. We fought like cats and dogs.
Yeah, I bet. And when family can fight in its own special kind of way too.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah.
So I come from a big family, and we all love each other, but you also the claws can come out. So I totally get it. Well, what happens from there? You've got this bread that's taking off. It's getting notoriety. You've got places like Costco calling. I mean, that's no joke. That's a humongous account. What do you do?
We had we needed $1.5 million to make the move into Costco.
At that launch.
Yeah. At that time, $1.5 million was more money then, but it was also a lot of money to us. And where were we we didn't have any collateral. My brother did, but not enough. So he had a house he had to put up. And then there was money. Then we had to get the rest of the loan. And it was 2008, and nobody wanted to loan anybody any money
in a recession.
Yeah, but we had proved that we're growing like crazy in a recession, but that didn't prove the future was going to be ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took us a lot of work. Finally got a loan.
And you got that loan to get into Costco.
Well, so that we could move.
Oh, so you could get to your bigger location to the 55,000.
That's right, with the equipment. We needed it, and just an amazing logistical thing you got to do. And we had to keep the production going and move at the same time. And then what it was is we had this relationship with Bob Moore from Bob's Red Mill for many years before that. My dad worked with Bob.
Oh, okay.
Bob we were his first wholesale flour customer back in the 70s, and
another wildly successful company,
incredibly successful, way ahead of Dave's Killer Bread. And he was like Big Daddy when I was talking to him on day. I saw him at this convention. He goes, "You're moving? I got a place for you." And it was his old mill.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you guys went in there.
Yeah, it was totally not built for us, but we had to make it work. Yeah.
One way or another. So, at this point, because if you go into a Costco today, I was just in there yesterday with my kids and we walked down the bread aisle.
So was I.
Half of the bread aisle is Dave's Killer Bread. I mean, it is honestly, it was nearly 50 outside of hot dog and hamburger buns. Yeah. It's half of the aisle.
Yeah.
Because you've got 3 or 4 varieties in there.
Yeah. See, and only one of those is mine.
Yeah. And the rest are now just piggybacking the name.
And I'm not even going to talk about the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
More power to them.
Yeah. So they knew that the name had legs, and so they piggybacked different brands underneath that title.
Yeah, some ideas.
Yeah.
They're not my kind of ideas, but they're right.
They are ideas.
Yeah.
So during this time, like what, at some point you guys are going to sell part of this company. Now, what happens between when you guys get up and running and when you decide to do that?
here at Costco, when Costco began 2009, early, um, it was a lot of work just to try to keep up again, we had to enlist other bakeries to help us make it. And that's hard because people's cultures and stuff, trying to create something different.
And are they going to keep the product at the level that that you want it to be at?
And that was hard. And there was a lot of, holding people accountable. It was really bad in some ways, but it had to happen. It was just a growing pain. And, but those next couple of years, I'm out. We had to hire, the first time we ever had to hire somebody, a big player, a operations manager, so that my brother and my nephew and myself could get off the floor, do other things, and this guy would take care of it. Well, we really messed up. There was only one person that even applied. Major job like this, but only one person applied, and he turned out to be work from France. He came from France, bred, and like arch enemies, and they were looking for ways to keep us from getting more shelf space. And but anyway, this guy went undercover.
Oh, so he was a rat.
Yeah.
There to steal your
two. I don't know how long he was there, like a year and a half or something.
And he was just stealing all your ideas and your recipes.
Yeah, he was so ineffective as an operations manager. We were like, okay, this guy's got a weird style of doing things. It's not how we do things. But my nephew and myself were like, okay, we got to get rid of this guy. And then about the same time he comes up, I'm thinking he must have got a feeling. He comes up and he goes, well, I got to leave. I got to go do a consulting job down here, and we were like, oh yeah, right. And next thing you know, I got good seed. That was my favorite one. Is I have a good seed tattoo on me. It signifies my transformation from bad seed to good seed. And they created great seed.
Oh God, come on.
I had 21 whole grains. He created 22 perfect grains. Can you believe that?
What a weasel.
Yeah. Well, it's just part of the weasel.
It's like a whole operation.
Yeah, it's just a weasel operation.
So and you weren't able to hold him accountable for any of that? It was just...
No, because, we'd sign, there's those things, those agreements are pretty weak.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A lot of gray area there. Yeah. So you're, at this point, you've gone through that guy. Are you still partying here?
I was really starting to party here.
Okay.
I was too busy working my ass off. I was a workaholic. So, I always addicted to something, it seemed like, right? So I was a workaholic and I started drinking, but I didn't have time to drink that much. So my mind was on other things. But it got easier, I started doing so much, like interviews like this, but just speaking. I was speaking like every day, it seemed like, somewhere. And I did this. This was just incredible whirlwind going on.
Yeah.
And I would drink, but it wasn't creating problems at first. Eventually, it got easier and I drank more. And it led to problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was like 2000. By 2012 and early 2013, things had hit like a bad spot for me.
Yeah, so you actually had a breakdown in 2013. When you say a breakdown, what do you mean?
Mental breakdown.
So did you end up in a facility?
Yeah. It's one of those long stories, but that whole day, November 14, 2013, I think that was late. I'd been acting pretty far out there. I'm just thinking, oh yeah, you don't know you're mental when you do that.
Yeah.
And then, but as the day goes by, I got more and more manic. I was hypomanic. I'm just feeling it. You know what I mean? And so I walk in. I had been kicked out of the bakery because I got in some trouble. I mean, things were just going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am created this brand. Now I got to get kicked out of it. It's like you're on a sabbatical. Will you do a sabbatical? I think you need a sabbatical. I was like, okay, I'll do a sabbatical. So I'm on a sabbatical. Long story short, I agreed that it was a good time. I mean, I'd been accused of murder. There was a lot of weird stuff going on. I hadn't killed anybody or come close to it, but
The wives' tales were running rampant.
yes, somebody died. It was a friend of mine, and I was around when it happened, but I did not kill him. And,
Yeah.
so anyway, that's it was coming out on Facebook that I killed somebody, and Facebook was my main connection to people in those days. I built a business with Facebook. We built it with Facebook. And now all of a sudden they're coming up on there and they say, yeah, my cousin Chris, he got killed, not by Dave. He had something on Dave, and you know what I mean? Had to take him out.
Yeah.
And so anyway, all this stuff was happening. It's just one of many things that was happening, but it was too much. And everything was amplified because I'm a public figure at the time. So I finally went in one day and I said, you guys, I punched a cardboard cutout of myself because I got mad that, I guess I was just mad that cardboard cutout made you be there, but I couldn't,
Yeah. It makes sense.
I punched it, and that was the beginning of a bad day. Cops came, but there was nothing to get me for. And, then I went to Seattle and back, and long story short, ended up getting a slow speed chase with cops in the neighborhood. And then I ran into a couple cop cars. It's inexplicable. But everybody's wanted to do that before.
Yeah. So what happens to you here? What's the charge? How long do you end up back in prison, or?
And that's what's weird about it. I wasn't a criminal at this point, but I did something criminal. And it was all because I was really out there.
Yeah.
And
were you off the medication?
No, I don't think I was, but something
just wasn't right.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe I stopped even taking the meds because I was so spooky, and I didn't know that it was going to make any difference. So anyway, I don't know what happened, but I was drinking, then I wasn't drinking, and not drinking made me manic. And hypomanic and then manic, and I was psychotic that night. And anyway, long story short, I ended up in Cedar Hills Hospital for about 3 weeks, and they figured out I was, bipolar. That's what they just, it's a label they put on it, and I got medicated for that, and I got out, and I was still manic, still hypomanic, but not dangerous.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, there was a Willamette Week article that came out called Breaking Bread.
And what was that all about?
Well, it was like Breaking Bad logo.
Yeah. Okay.
And here it was, this 4-time felon, makes his bread and then crashes.
He's right back in it.
Yeah, bad guy again, breaking bread. And so, but the article was, that's cute. I said, but I wasn't together, wasn't wrapped tight. And it hit me so hard reading about me killing people, all this stuff. I'm like, and it's just all BS, right? But it all added up.
It's hitting home.
Yeah. And I was like, oh no. And I hit the biggest bottom of my life, kind of where you can't move. You're just so depressed. And medication doesn't do anything for you when you're like that.
So you just lock yourself inside, or what'd you do?
You don't get up to lock yourself inside.
Just lay.
You just sit there, lay there for hours on end, and everything sucks, and it's not going to get better for a while. I let down millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people, easy at that time. But most notably my company, and it was just unbelievable to me. I'd had such this great ride, but I'd also been humble. I thought that I was a humble person.
Yeah.
I wasn't, riding high, rock star, crazy. But yes, I did let it go to my head a little bit, and that was a problem.
Mm-hmm. So do they ever let you back, or are you now have to be from a distance, or what happens with the company and control?
Yeah, it's kind of it came from distance. I mean, I wasn't dangerous. Now we were trying to, we had sold a year before that, sold half the company
to a private equity.
Yeah. Now private equity and helps build it. Now it's building it up, and they had to work around me.
Yeah. But they knew they had a good product, but they have to deal with this quote unquote liability.
Yeah. And in reality, I wasn't a liability, but that's what you do. You
They
play
had painted
defense.
you with that brush.
Yes, playing defense at this point
Because
And-
they had kind of shelved you in with that idea.
Yeah, it was painful. That was a big part of it too.
This is my brand, and you're gonna not let me in.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I understood it at the time because I was back to not feeling very good about myself. So, but eventually, I came around to think, why did they like lock me out forever? It was hard for me to accept that. But in 2015, we sold the rest of the company, and everybody goes, "Well, you got what you needed, what you wanted, right?" No, that's not what I wanted. I being wealthy doesn't take the place of that amazing thing that happened that I was able to do, and I won't be able to do again in this lifetime.
So, if you, in a perfect world, you would still own the company?
I'd have a little bit.
Yeah,
I'd have a spiritual aspect to it. I would still have some direction, some
a say.
Yeah, and I would just be like, well, this is how we got here. Now, do we want to just do everything opposite of that? That's kind of what they did. And it's like, okay, well, now the day's gone. We can make it like everybody else's bread.
Yeah,
and still call it killer bread.
Well, because the level of success of the brand during your time and even now is insane. Like the fact that it's everywhere. People ask me like, "Oh, who you having on the podcast this week?" And I was getting my hair cut, and the lady asked me who it was going to be, and I said it was you, and she flipped. She was so excited. She's like, "You got to tell him. I've been saying this. If he makes a sourdough jalapeno cheddar bread, it'll change the world."
Yeah,
I told her I'd tell you.
I love it and I meet people in the stores,
Yeah.
And once in a while, somebody, in the old days, it was all the time. Now it's like every once in a while, and then they want to tell everybody. So there's like a crowd of people around.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay.
Because once you see it, and since everyone's seen the bag so much, like when I came down to the lobby to grab you, I'm like, oh, there's Dave.
Yeah.
He's still got your signature mustache, the whole deal. It's all there.
I don't have the long hair.
You can bring it back.
I can't grow long hair like that anymore. Yeah.
And they put you pretty ripped on the bag, though.
Well, that was my creation.
Okay. I better be jacked.
Yeah, that whole thing was that was my idea. The logo it's a long story. My brother had a fact. He was like, put Dave and his guitar on the back. And then I wrote my story, and it was just going to be me and my guitar, like a picture. But then the copyright guy goes, "Well, you need to make a distinctive logo." And while he's talking about that, we're talking about the back of the bag and everything. And I came up with the idea of the guitar, the guy, Dave's bread, big letters. And then somebody comes along, and this is on a brick wall in the alley or something, and tags killer over the top.
Yeah.
But that doesn't show up in the logo, but that was the original.
That was the idea.
And then I finally got somebody, an artist that was able to do it for like $100. No, I mean, it was cheap, man. It was like $500, I think. And he drew me, just kept drawing me, making it look a lot like me. And I'm like, dude, we don't need it to look like me. We don't want it to look like me. Make it look like a prettier version of me, like a cartoon version. And so nobody would ever just go, "Oh, that's Dave," And then the arms were really puny, like these,
Yeah.
And I said,
"Give me some
I'm
guns."
paying you the big bucks here. Make my arms big.
Yeah, exactly.
He made them balloon big.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So if somebody were to ask you straight up, the bread that you made, your loaf compared to what they've got now, would you say that it tastes similar to your bread?
It does. And I have to be careful here. I don't want to say anything like.
And I don't need you to go kick them down the road, but because this happens with big brands all the time. It's not exclusive to them.
I guess they've figured out what they can do, what's good enough to sell as Dave's Killer Bread. Okay, that's what they did. There's less of this, more of that. It's just corners cut.
Mm-hmm.
And that just happens with everybody, like you said.
Yeah. So the the CEO of the ex-CEO of Dave's Killer Bread at some point, I don't know which one, but he just went viral because his house in Lake Oswego, that's your nephew?
Yeah.
That house is insane.
Yeah.
And so it's now being like used as a short-term rental on the river there.
He doesn't mind, yeah.
That's the plan, which, I mean,
I guess I was supposed to say they, but he doesn't mind. They don't mind. He's kind of famous now for being a drag, what do they call it? Like the dancers back in the day.
a drag queen?
Yeah, burlesque dancer.
Okay.
He's a drag burlesque dancer. And he's like 6'8" in his high heels. And he's got long hair now, like I used to have back then. But, you know, he's like non-binary. And he goes by Mona Trombona. But anyway, he's a much better person than he was back in those days.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely like, do what you want to do.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
But that house is crazy. So I didn't realize that was still your nephew who was running the company.
He's not anymore.
Yeah, he's done.
There. Yeah, we decided we had a very amicable choice when my brother retired as a CEO. We decided, okay, which one of us is going to be the president, which is CEO. Well, the CEO outranks the president, right? But I was like, you're much more the CEO kind of guy. I'll be the president. And so he was the CEO and very effective at it. And so that's why people get confused when they think CEO, that's got to be Dave. Or
yeah.
I never was CEO, no.
So when you finally were paid out of it, not to get into actual numbers of it, but did they pay you enough for you to be all right forever?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If I didn't blow half of it, you know, in the first couple of years,
it'd be even more lucrative.
Yeah, it'd been better. I would have been more thinking about long-term, like investing properly. I'm fine, but, you know, not as good as I should be.
Now, there's one thing I wanted to ask you about is a lot of these guys who create big, amazing brands or companies, a lot of times they sell those companies and then they use their skills to re-enter the market. Perfect example is like the guy who invented the pods that go in your driveway where you fill it up and then they come pick up the pod of your stuff and take it. He sold that company and then built the company that was their direct competitor right after that.
Yeah, that's interesting because that is something I couldn't do. I couldn't get
You couldn't do this again.
Not like that. I would have to do something else.
So is it their fine print?
The branding would have to be totally different.
You couldn't use Dave's Killer Bread, but you just have a skill, you know?
Yeah, I'm able to create. I could create a new product. I could do the branding, you know, develop the marketing. I could be a big part of that, right? And it's just the opportunity hasn't knocked. People always come up with ideas and they think, oh yeah, you should do this. No, you know, the one thing that I really have thought on the bread side that I would like to create a really killer pizza crust. You know, it's the idea is simple, but it's not easy to do, and it's not easy to scale and build. So I'm not sure I want to do something like that.
So my mom and my wife both bake bread, and they were super into it. And I'm always trying to tell them, like, why don't you guys open up like a little like bakery type thing? And they live in a kind of like a bougie-ish area. It could work out. You could do the whole thing. And they like pride themselves on the real ingredients, like the European style or the Canadian style of not having all of the nasty ingredients in there.
That might go really well, but
but
it is competitive.
But to get off the ground, I mean, it just gets.
Well, I say, remember at the beginning that we were talking about getting into the farmers market. I say, if you can test market a product.
You're listening to the Fit for Radio podcast, and of course, brought to you in part by Motorsport Hillsboro, because spring is here and the deals are on at Motorsport Hillsboro. Save up to 60% off on gas e-bikes because, of course, gas prices are going up, but the prices are going down at Motorsport Hillsboro. And if you're into good deals, how about $8,000 off MSRP on a Kawasaki Ridge side-by-side? It's all there right now. Go check them out today. There's a reason people come from far and wide to Motorsport Hillsboro to make their purchase for their off-road adventures come this summer. And of course, since the spring is here, the sky is blue. Let's get it. Motorsport Hillsboro, it's your spot. Stay rad, save gas.
You know, we have the great opportunity to get in the farmer's market. And so I'm like, I don't know what I would have done without that test opportunity, that opportunity to get it out there to people. It's hard to get into a store.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's really hard to, say, start a neighborhood bakery or something. The lot goes into that, a lot of work, and the odds are not great.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you can test the product at a market, farmer's market,
you can get an idea of whether it has legs or not.
Yeah, you just work your way. I mean, if it's good enough, it'll carry itself. You just have to work hard to keep up with it.
Yeah, well, so you're basically telling me that it's not going to happen unless I have the superior product, which I think it's good product, but I just don't know if it. The good thing about your bread, and when you created it, it just was different from everyone else's. Like everyone's got their baguette or whatever that they make, but to be able to show someone that this one is better than that one, and you had the whole, like, the nutrition factor was a big selling point, and then being here in Portland allows like almost like an extra catalyst there because they're seeking out.
They were, yeah. It was a great opportunity in that regard, but I think you could do it with the right product. You could do it anywhere. And what I did that made it, I knew it was better than other breads of its type because I designed it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I didn't know people would pay the money for it. That's what it costs money to make a better product. And we didn't have the economies of scale like bigger, at that point. It's like making it and making no money.
Yeah.
But it's good. So that's what you really got to believe in the product. You got to believe in something. Something's got to be special. If it's your story, whatever.
Yeah. Something that makes you different.
Yeah. Your brand. What's going to make a brand out of it?
And you did an incredible job of that. You built a superior product first, and it took off like wildfire, and made a lot of people a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that wasn't the end of any sort of struggles for you, right? You're human like anybody else.
I'm probably more human than most people.
Ultra human.
Yeah.
And you had another bump in the road not too long ago.
Yeah. I've always struggled with addiction, I guess, but I've stayed away from the good old days of slamming, meth and all that crazy stuff. But I drinking, it was socially acceptable, so
yeah,
fall back into that. All it takes is a little bit of drink, and I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to leave it alone. So 20 months ago, I got in trouble. Keep it simple. I got in trouble with the Psychiatric Security Review Board. Now, ever since that incident in 2013, I've been on this powers that be kind of thing, and
you got the thumb on you.
Yes, and it's worse than parole because I've been on parole, and this is worse. It's way more intense because they can't afford to have you screwing up. It makes them look bad, and you can't blame them. More than parole. People expect people to screw up on parole. They don't expect you to screw up when you're in this. So just drinking was enough to get me in a ton of trouble. Sent me to Oregon State Hospital for 5.5 months. It cost me $20,000 just to get out, attorney and everything, because people stay there for years. And I wasn't crazy. I had just drank. So I was in the wrong place, but I had to prove it. Then I spent 4 months in-house treatment for alcohol. And then I've been on treatment ever since then, but now it's down to 1 day a week. But I was living in sober housing for quite a few months. So it's only about a month or two ago that I was finally able to go live at my
at your house. Yeah. Wow. So are you
still kind of excited about it?
Yeah. So how long has it been since you had your last drink?
21 months-ish.
That's impressive.
Well, I don't have a choice.
So, so you are a guy who's always craved the buzz, right? So is it something you think about often, or is it something you feel like you've got your thumb on right now?
I got my thumb on it now. It's fine. I'm fine without it. All I got to do is remember that I'm happy. I don't need a drink. It's funny. It's just like a little icing on the cake. It's a drink, and then that's it. It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. So I have to play it through.
Yeah, and I think some people are different. Some people can have a drink and be like, oh, there's my nightcap, and it's over and it's done. And some people, and I think I lay somewhere in the middle, but it's like, if I don't have it at all, then it's fine. But if I have one or two, then like I would like another one. And like I don't want to get, but no, I know, but it's like, it's a sliding scale. So some people, they have one, and the next thing you know, they're naked in an alley.
I don't have that behavioral problem where I lose it, go crazy and stuff when I drink. I just drink a lot. I just have a very, very strong system when you're drinking.
And you just keep going and
go. And I don't even, after a while, you're not noticing it. You just keep going and drink a whole fist real quick. It's a half gallon. And, I mean, that's how it was for me. And go to a restaurant, bar, and they would know me, and they'd come in and they give me my double, which is like a quad.
Oh yeah, they knew what you needed to be. So what would you say? Because I did mention to a couple of people that you were coming on here, and none of them know you, and every one of them had a different story or something that they thought they heard or knew. And I was like, well, I'm actually going to sit down with them, so we'll kind of get through all that. So for all these people who don't really know who Dave actually is, it's not a story of like murder and shoot ups and this and that. It's just more
back in the day. There was some
running around and some things went down, but it's more of a guy who's just fought addiction, right? And then has had to take on his own demons.
Mental problems, I would say, began
self-medication.
Self-medication. And then acting out because of the drugs, but to get the drugs and all that kind of stuff. But I don't need to do that now. So even if I screw up, I just screw up. I get in trouble, but it's not like I do crimes. I don't have to go out and do crimes.
So I think that's one of the main misconceptions about you, is that you're not just a loose cannon. You're a human like the rest of us, who's dealt with his own mental wellness stuff and done some self-medicating along the way. I think we've all done that on some sort of scale. But I'm proud of you. I mean, to go that amount of time without a drink and to do it, not being incarcerated, right? Like, because it's still in the store. You're still at a grocery store. It's still there. And you have the ability to not do it right now.
I'm able to, after this much time, think it through before, if I have a moment of wanting to do it, it's like, I don't really want to. So now that you've got your thumb on this and you kind of have the rest of your life ahead of you, where do you see yourself heading next? Like, what's next for Dave? Right now, it's about solidifying what I've got, kind of taking care of things. I've sold a couple properties in the last year just because I have too much. It's like I have too many things to manage. So I want to simplify my life. That's number one. But I can't. It isn't really number one. It's like always in the back of my mind. If I'm doing this, is it going to make my life more complicated? Is it going to make it harder? Or is it going to contribute toward me having a simpler life as I get older? I don't have the need, or I want to. See, there's part of me that always wants to do something new. Create something, make something happen. I just don't think I want to do that now. And I mean, I've done that. So I want to make my relationship with my wife better. We just built a home on the Clackamas that is amazing.
Nice.
That's enough to manage right now. And then I have a place downtown. My wife and I were separated for a long time due to all this thing. It was kind of crazy. And then I got my granddaughters and my daughters, and I want to be a better person, in some ways that I haven't been in the past.
And to be around, right? Like especially with grandkids, it gives you a whole nother opportunity to leave your mark on them and to help them be better people. And I really think the legacy in the end, that's all you've got, and your face will probably be on a bread douchebag for the rest
My
of the time.
face will outlast me.
Yeah. Your cartoon will outlast
Some
the human
version
figure.
of my face.
But in the end, all we have is the memories that live on in our loved ones. And so the fact that you have a relationship with those people is ever important.
Yes, and it's just I feel so weak in that area, and I'm trying to develop that.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I wasn't born that way.
Well, it's in there. It's in there somewhere, though, because the fact that you want to do it means that you're capable of doing it. I could give you a long list of deadbeats who they're deadbeats because that's who they are, not because of a circumstance like mental health or drugs. It's just that's who they are.
Extremely selfish people.
Yeah, exactly. And
self-centered.
And drugs actually, the sad part about drugs is they make you selfish when you didn't necessarily want to be.
Yeah.
Because you're a slave to it. It's what it is.
I mean, I didn't, in those days, I didn't have anybody. I mean, my wife, I had that first wife, and yes, great person and all that, but that was never supposed to happen. But the daughter that was born out of that's a big deal, But I didn't know anything else to be but selfish. I was just trying to survive in my mind. You know what I mean? I wasn't capable of helping anybody.
So what would you say, as we're kind of closing out here, to somebody who is in the situation that you were in at one point where you're incarcerated, or even if you're not in jail, you're fighting charges with the law, you're always on probation or parole or whatever, and it feels like you can never get out of the circle, but you feel like you're capable of more. What would you say to those people?
Well, you have to, I believe you have to be willing to do the work that it will take you to be that person that you want to make a difference being with yourself and in the world. If you're not trying to make a difference in the world, then you're not doing nothing, So the goal is what can your impact be? Well, it's not going to happen without all the effort in the right places. And I was fortunate enough to go struggle enough in my life, and at the age of 38, have this great epiphany that I am actually okay. I didn't think I was great, nothing special. I just thought I was okay.
And that you're worthwhile.
Yeah, I was worthwhile as a person. That was a huge deal. From that moment, I've never really felt down on myself. I had really bad moments, and I had struggled to get through and learn new lessons, but I am still a guy who sees himself as worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for everyone to think about for themselves too, is if you feel like you're a good person at your core, things will work out. You just got to kind of stay the course, breathe through it, and push on.
Well, and learn. You take up something that is uncomfortable. Do something uncomfortable to get where you want to be. Because if you're comfortable now, then you'll stay there.
Yeah. And if you had never decided to task yourself and your brother tasking you with making that bread, there'd be a lot of people not happy with their toast in the morning. So
a lot of things would be different.
That's right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and I'd love to stay in touch and see where you head next. And I'm rooting for you in the next phase of all this. And I hope you enjoy that new house you built and the grandkids, your kids, and your wife.
Great meeting you, man. Good job. Thank you.
Great meeting you. Take care.